Welcome in, ladies and gentlemen, episode number 177 of Let's Go Racing with David Starr. David Jones, Dominic Aragon here with you. David Starr in the house with us as well as we look back on the weekend that was at Darlington. And what a surprise that this Darlington race was after William Byron dominated all day. And it was Denny Hamlin who came out victorious, just as we all thought was going to happen, right? Yeah. We'll also look ahead to this weekend's action as well. We'll go over the news and notes, and we'll get to our mailbag segment coming up at the end of today's show. Joining us right off the top of the show, David Starr in the building, in the flesh, and coming off a race on the Xfinity side there at Darlington this weekend. David, welcome back. How we doing? Tell us all about the Darlington experience, man. How was it?
Man, it was awesome, man. It was great to be back. You know, it's always a fun time when you're able to race at the Lady in Black. Darlington's such a awesome historical racetrack, and man, it didn't disappoint. It was a great race. I was glad to be out there. Exciting race in the Xfinity Series, and like you were saying, Tyler, it was good to see Denny Hamlin back into victory lane. It looks like 2 in a row, but man, what a great weekend of racing it was.
Yeah. Dom, your thoughts? Welcome in. First off, Denny Hamlin, back-to-back, big win for him in a race that he didn't lead a whole lot of laps. The strategy of that 11 team paid off for them there to put them in position and capitalize.
First time he's gone back-to-back in NASCAR Cup Series wins since 2012. Only the third time he's done it in his career. So I think that's certainly worth noting off the top of there, Tyler. Maybe it wasn't the strongest car all day. He even said he was happy to finish third before that last caution fell. I don't know if you guys have seen this too, and maybe David would have more insight on this, but there was some video circulating around how the pit stop of how quick it was on that final caution period with Hamlin grabbing the lead. The jack man was able to flip the jack around his back. Some sort of move that knocked off a tenth or two, but Tyler, that's the difference for Hamlin to get off pit road quicker than William Byron, even if William Byron had the better pit stall selection. But having that 8.6-second pit stop proved worthy of being able to get that front row start and get that win. And on top of that, 256 wins, now 11th on the all-time wins list. He says he wants to get to 61 wins before it's all said and done, so he retires at least in the top 10 of the all-time wins list. It's looking like at this rate, he's going to hit that before we even get to the playoffs.
Yeah, passing Rusty Wallace on the all-time wins list this past week. Still looking for that first Cup title. Maybe this is the year he finally breaks through. David, Denny going back-to-back, as you mentioned, and Joe Gibbs Racing's been so strong all year with Christopher Bell, of course, winning 3 races in a row earlier this year. They got a real good thing going between Denny and Bell right now. I mean, that Joe Gibbs camp is pretty strong.
Man, it is strong. You know, I wasn't just a couple weeks ago, Steve Bell was just ending his, finishing his 3 in a row, winning 3 races in a row. That was amazing. And, you can never count out Steve Bell. He was right there going for it there at Darlington, but man, like you said, Denny grabbing those 2 wins this past week, the last 2 weeks, 2 races, just goes to show you how strong Joe Gibbs Racing is as an organization. Not only Steve Bell winning 3 in a row, now you got Denny Hamlin winning 2 in a row and possibly a third one, but man, that organization, you can never count out any of those cars each and every week. But man, y'all were talking about it. I think at best Denny was probably a 4th, 5th place car, 6th, and he really wasn't a factor throughout the race. I mean, he was going to have a good run, a good finish, a top 10. But man, like I said, it's you guys know, and everybody knows, it's such a team sport, and have that pit stop right there at the end. And, the maneuver that the jack man made or whatever the pit crew did, whatever they did, it was incredible for Denny to come out number 1, come off pit road, number 1 leading. It really changed the landscape of the outcome of the race. It was kind of interesting the way it was all playing out. It was kind of drama filled, but William Byron had them covered, and then the way the pit stop strategies worked out, who was it? Who was it that would pit it a little bit before him and had a pretty good lead? And then next thing you know, here come Ryan Blaney, and that was amazing when Ryan took the lead. He took the lead, and that 2 seconds later the caution came out. It was just bad luck for him. But man, the drama did not disappoint. It was an exciting race, and I wasn't surprised to see Denny Hamlin back in victory lane again.
One of the things I want to bring up here real quick, David, we were talking about this before we went on air tonight about Darlington and that atmosphere. And of course, Sunday had a lot of the NASCAR alumni program, and that program bringing back a lot of drivers that were part of yesteryear or helped build the sport throughout the 80s and 90s. And you got to interact with some of them on Saturday. So how important is it to see a lot of these old school drivers at the racetrack and hearing that they're going to be at a lot more events this year?
Well, I really think it's crucial to the sport. You got a lot of great talent out there. You look at the Xfinity Series and the Truck Series, and even on the Cup side. I mean, there's so much talent, and there's so much aggression, and you look at the Martinsville Xfinity race, great race, but I think 42% of the race was run under caution. I think that was really kind of something that NASCAR did not want to see. I think it's been many, many, many years. You got to go way, way back to have a race at Martinsville where 42, almost 50% of the race was run under caution, So, and all that being said, when you got guys like Martin and all the alumni, all the champions from past years, and they all come together at Darlington for Throwback Weekend, I think it's important that you have a Jeff Bodine or Jeff Gordon or, all these former champions or former stars of NASCAR come to more races, and because I think it's important for the current young drivers to get some good feedback, maybe some good, advice. I just think it's important, so I'm excited to hear what you were saying, Dominic, because it sounds like to me that we're going to have like, a Jeff Bodine or maybe Ricky Rudd or Ernie Irvan or whoever will be at more races. And I just think that's good for the sport. It's good for the drivers to talk to. I know, I have done that a lot in the past where I spent time with Terry Labonte, Bobby Labonte, talking to the guys that have been there and done that, champions, winners, just to get their take on situations or, and just anything that any driver is going to go through from this point forward, young drivers, there's man, you can sit down with Jeff Bodine and he can give you some great advice on how to handle situations or what to do. And I think that's important for the sport, to be honest with you. And I know it's great for the fans as well.
Oh, yeah, for sure. David, I got to ask you this one more thing on Denny Hamlin, and then we can touch on William Byron and his performance after that. Denny, David, you've known him a long time, and the last couple of years, he's tried to embrace this villain role of sorts. We saw him with the flag a couple weeks ago when he won at Martinsville that said 11 against the world, and then after this race, he kind of threw some shade at Kyle Larson, saying, "Hey, I want to thank for the assists from my pit crew and for Kyle Larson for bringing that caution out to help me win this race." Uh, do you like this? I mean, it feels like the sport needs kind of an antagonist of sorts after everybody started liking Kyle Busch all of a sudden. Now, I noticed that some people, it kind of rubs them the wrong way. I think what Denny's doing here is pretty entertaining. What say you?
Man, I'm not crazy about it, but it does. People talk about it. People's podcasts. It really brings eyeballs to the sport. And it's good drama, I believe. And I've heard fans say in the past, they're kind of disappointed. There's no more Tony Stewarts out there. You don't Kevin Harvick's retired. You know, Boyer's in the booth, Harvick's in the booth. You know, a lot of the personalities and a lot of these guys, Carl Edwards, have retired out. You know, the fans, they want to see. You know, they like that, the personalities. You know, and kind of the drama that follows some of them. You know, and if you think about it, if we didn't have Denny Hamlin out there doing those types of, you know, things and saying, you know, crazy things and waving the flag and doing everything that Denny does, you know, it might be a little stale, I guess you could say, you know. So, so he gets a lot of people thinking, you know, they're thinking about what he said, and you know, there's a lot of talk about what Denny does and what he says. So, you know, I don't think it's bad for the sport. You know what I mean? And you know, Denny's a great guy. You know, away from the racetrack, away from racing, he's a great guy. He's a good family man now. You know, and but man, he does give back to his fan base. You can always catch him doing autographs at the racetrack, at the race shop. You know, I just think he's good for the sport. You know, and whether he rubs you the right way or wrong way, you know what I mean? I think it's good drama, good controversy, and it keeps people thinking. It just keeps, you know, it keeps things kind of flowing, you know. And you know, my question to you guys, you know, if you didn't have Denny doing that, what other drama would we have? You know what I'm saying? It's kind of, you know, there's not a lot of personalities out there that get out there and kind of mouth off and say the things that Denny says. You know what I mean? So, you know, so I think it's good in a way and bad in a way, but it definitely brings a lot of drama and people love it.
Yeah. I mean, I look at Ross Chastain, and the other drivers wanted to make him out to be a villain and all this, and he's never embraced that. Even though he's raced like it, he's never took on that personality, that persona like Denny has in that sense. So I think you're absolutely right about that. Dominic, I want to bring you in on this William Byron stuff. The way he dominated this race, leading how many laps in a row? I mean,
It's like the opening 243 laps. Yeah.
it was his race to lose. And then the green flag pit stops happen. And I know Rudy Fugle is a hell of a crew chief. He's as good as any crew chief out there. Do you think there's some second guessing here? I mean, at the same time, too, they were kind of put in a tough spot because these other teams took some chances that maybe they could not have taken in that situation.
Pure speculation here, Tyler, but I think when you have a situation where you win the opening stage, you win the second stage, even through all the green flag cycles earlier in the race, and you're leading all the laps, how can you not be thinking about piecing a perfect race together? And then that's even harder this year because NASCAR gives you that extra point for posting the fastest lap, which William Byron did. And so you can earn up to 61 points. Outside of the Coke 600, you're earning 61 points as your top earning race. How would you not want to go after a perfect event and lead the most laps? And it seems like that probably was on their mind because he pits 4 laps later after Tyler Reddick, like David mentioned earlier. And Reddick comes out with that massive lead, and Ryan Blaney's able to chase him down. But like William Byron said, that one has to sting. That's the first time since 2000, Tyler, that somebody had opened that many laps in a race to lead without a new leader into the Cup Series. The last person to lead all the laps in a Cup race was Jeff Burton in 2000 in New Hampshire.
Wow. And that's something. David, William Byron, I know that he didn't win, but he and that team still had to be feeling pretty good about that performance. I mean, I know they haven't won since Daytona, but there's got to be more wins coming for that 24 team soon.
Man, no doubt about it. You know, we were mentioning earlier about C. Bell and Denny Hamlin and how strong Joe Gibbs Racing is, you know, but you know, Hendricks, you can never count out Hendricks, you know, and William Byron's been on fire this year, and to dominate Darlington like he did, you feel for the guy, you know. I mean, to you know, win stage 1, win stage 2, lead all those laps, you know, but you know, it's amazing, and that's what makes NASCAR racing so exciting, you know. The 45 car, my mind just went blank, but anyway, they pitted early, and Tyler Reddick, you know, him and his team, they pitted early, had a great pit stop, and man, got back on the racetrack, and that time, putting on new tires, having a hell of a pit stop. Everything worked out perfect. And man, when he got back on the racetrack, he must have been knocking off some great laps. And then, when William Byron finally pitted and got back on the track, man, he I think, Reddick had, I don't know, it was, man, I thought it was a 5 second, 6 second lead. It was amazing. You know what I mean? It's kind of shocked that he had that big of a lead. I was like, oh my God, I definitely didn't see that, happening. I was kind of shocked that it happened, but anyway, that's just how it goes sometimes. Just, you don't always have to have the fastest car, but sometimes pit stop strategy, and when you pit, and like a racetrack at Darlington where tires mean so much, it was interesting, and then to see how Ryan Blaney, his car was a long run car. It didn't fall off like other people's cars fell off, and man, to see the charge that he made, I also felt for Ryan Blaney. I mean, it looked like, man, he was going to win the race, and man, right when he took the lead, the caution came out. You know what I mean? So not only did you had to feel bad for William Byron, I also felt bad for Ryan Blaney, because it was just amazing how good those guys were. But again, like you said, Tyler, William Byron's got to be, even though that one stings and that it'll take more days to get over than it usually does. They got momentum, and I believe that we'll be seeing William Byron and victory a lot more before the season ends. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, I think so. I think you're absolutely right about that. David Starr, Dominic Aragon, Tyler Jones here. And let's kind of look ahead real quick to this weekend's action at Bristol. David, you've raced there numerous times. What a special place. And we're not doing the dirt thing anymore. We've gone back to the concrete for this spring race. And this track, I know that there's some question marks with the next gen car when it comes to these short tracks, but just the atmosphere and the setting, David, alone makes for this to be an exciting must watch race, I think.
Oh, just the atmosphere yeah, go to Bristol. I mean, any race at Bristol, it's exciting. And man, with all the dramas that going on in the Cup side, I'm excited to watch the Cup race at Bristol. I'm excited to watch the Xfinity race, and definitely excited to watch all three NASCAR series at Bristol, because you think what we saw last week was exciting, what we saw at Martinsville was exciting. Bristol is just the atmosphere, the electricity. It's multiple grooves, and sometimes here lately with this next gen car, it's been a little bit of follow the leader, but hopefully they can move around. People will be beating and banging. It'll be exciting again. But it's Bristol, man, and man, it's one of a kind, and hopefully it's going to be drama filled and be a heck of a race.
Dominic, opening thoughts on Bristol. What comes to your mind, your attention, catch your eye this weekend for Bristol here?
Gosh, like David said, we've seen a lot of follow the leader stuff with this short track next gen vehicle, but it seems like the racing has gotten better with the next gen since its introduction in 22. But you look ahead to Bristol, and I think back to that race last year with the tires, and we're not going to have that crazy calamity with option tires this year, but we will probably have a very close race, at least like how the spring played out with Hamlin and Truex. But we could also see like what we did with Kyle Larson, 460 some laps led out of the 500. So it could be a wild card. I guess we'll have to wait and see for this weekend. But I got to tell you, Tyler, if you ever get the chance to go to Bristol, one of the coolest things you ever do is you walk up through that infield tunnel and you are surrounded. You look around and it gives you chills. There's this grandstand upon grandstand upon grandstand just surrounding you in this concrete palace. And it truly is the last great Coliseum. It really lives up to that name.
Yeah, I can't wait. I've yet to make the trip to Bristol yet, but that's certainly on my list. Can't wait to do that one day, and hopefully we see some good action this weekend. Let's continue on with our news and notes. Dom, where do you want to start us this week?
Well, we'd be remiss to not mention the unfortunate passing of a NASCAR team owner earlier this week with unfortunate circumstances. NASCAR champion owner Shiggy Hattori, dead at 61 years old from a head-on car crash in North Carolina. The Huntersville Police Department confirmed Monday that Hattori died in a head-on crash along North Carolina Highway 73. Hattori was instrumental in bringing Toyota to the NASCAR ranks and really instrumental to the TRD program, with reaching the pinnacle as an owner as Brett Moffitt's team owner in the 2018 Craftsman Truck Series Championship. And of course, too, Hattori was a racer himself, running in the Indianapolis 500 a couple of times, winning some IndyCar races, and as a competitor of David's in the Truck Series. And David's also technical owner when David was running all those races with MBM Motorsports in 2021. You would see Shiggy's name listed as the team owner. So certainly unfortunate circumstances. Shiggy Hattori has died at 61.
David, what comes to mind when you think of him and working with him over the years?
Man, he was always just a great guy. I always like talking to him, and you know, he was just a great person. We laughed a lot, and he just great stories about Shuggy. I was very saddened to receive that news that he had passed in an automobile accident. And it's kind of like, you just don't. It's shocking, really, when you get the news, and it's just a shame. He's done a lot in motorsports and in NASCAR, and like Dominic was saying, he was instrumental in bringing Toyota into NASCAR. He had a great relationship with Toyota, and man, he built, won the championship in the Truck Series in 2018, and and then he jumped over to the Xfinity Series there for a while, not only as a driver but as a team owner. It's just it's just hard to believe, to be honest with you, and sad. You hear what happened, head-on collision, and he was a great driver, so it's just sad to hear that type of news, and still bad, you know what I mean? But he was always a fun guy. We always kidded around, and it was always fun to see him. And the stories, stories in the past when he, years ago, a friend of mine was driving with him in a rent car, and they got pulled over for speeding. So he acted like he couldn't speak English, he didn't understand English, you know what I mean? So it was kind of a historical story to hear, and but he was a good businessman, great race car driver, did a lot in NASCAR, did a lot in auto racing himself, racing in 2 Indianapolis 500s, but was just a great person. I was just sad to hear the news of his passing.
Had you gotten to see him recently, David, or interact with him?
No, it's been a while. It's been a couple of years since I've seen him, so it's been a while. So yeah, still just, but man was, he just, a major fixture in NASCAR racing for many years. I raced against him, and then after he somewhat retired from the driving part, then now became a owner, and man, built a really great racing team. To win the championship, that's not an easy task. In 2018, had a great driver, great sponsors, but it was amazing to see him win the championship in the Truck Series when he did. Just kind of shocking that he's passed. It's kind of crazy.
Yeah, very sad news there, and just heartbreaking stuff. Dom, what else we got going?
So by the time you're listening to this podcast, it would have already happened. But according to my source at the White House, NASCAR, along with other motorsports, are going to be making a trip back to Washington, D.C. NASCAR expected to be honored with Joey Logano and Team Penske, along with IMSA and the Indianapolis 500 champion from last year at the White House on Wednesday, April 9th. So mark the third time that the Trump administration has honored motorsports, and the first time, to my knowledge, Tyler, that they're bringing in multi-motorsports events, continuing a tradition that I believe it started with President Nixon in the 1970s, bringing different NASCAR types of champions, Daytona 500 champions, motorsports of sorts, to be able to celebrate from the year prior. And recall that the Trump administration, Trump 1.0, had honored Martin Truex Jr. in 18 for his 17 championship, Logano in 2019 for his 2018 championship, and it appears to be the case this year as well.
That's great, David. Long overdue. The previous administration did not recognize any of the NASCAR champions. It was unfortunate, but great to see Joe Logano get recognized. What an honor that is. I don't care who's in office. That's a great thing to get that invite and to see Joey and NASCAR on that stage.
Man, that's a big honor for our sport, for NASCAR and for Joey Logano and all of motorsports, to have the Indianapolis 500 champ there. And I just think it's awesome, that our current administration with President Trump, Trump's a big supporter of NASCAR. He showed up, flew in to watch the start of the Daytona 500. It was really awesome. But Trump's been a big supporter of NASCAR racing, I think motorsports in general over the years. And I'm not surprised, but man, I don't know. It makes me proud that our champion, Joey Logano, will be honored and recognized at the White House in Washington. That's cool, to spotlight our sport like that and all of motorsports. So pretty awesome. I'm excited about that.
Tyler, you want to
Dominic.
talk about chills, man. We were talking about Bristol a minute ago. Being on that riser on the South Lawn and seeing the president with the previous champion from the year before and the presidential theme song playing by the White House band is one of the coolest things you will ever see. I don't care who the commander in chief is. That is one cool honor to go and have that privilege to go cover something like this and be a part of that. I had the opportunity to do that both times in the first Trump administration. And got to tell you guys, you see that car on that South Lawn, you see all the distinguished guests. Everybody is in their Sunday best dressed up. It is a really, really cool and special event to be able to say you've been a part of.
I'm sure. And you get to see that firsthand. Tell me about that for people that don't know, people like David and I that did not get to go to the White House. When you went down, what all did you get to do and see and experience with that visit? And remind the folks too what driver champions there were the 2 years you went.
Dude, I could write a book on that first 2018 experience because we got a few days' notice of going. So Martin Truex had won the championship in 17. We get the alert that there's going to be a White House event in like late May of 2018, right before Labor Day weekend. So it was just ahead of the Coke 600. NASCAR just come off that All-Star race weekend at Charlotte. And yeah, we get the notification like on that Thursday before that they're going to honor him on Monday or Wednesday, and it's going to be Monday. And our team, we scrambled Matt Corson, Christian Coley, and got to tell you guys, we got a flat tire in Raleigh, Durham because we drove up. I flew into Charlotte. I drove up with them. We got a flat tire Sunday night, and this event's supposed to happen Monday morning. And we ultimately got the flat tire fixed, but it took some time because, right, with some of those newer vehicles, you have the lock lug to secure those lug nuts, and we couldn't find the little key. And it's a Sunday night, nothing's open. Walmart's closed. It was a fun time, but we got it figured out. We drove in, and I remember telling Christian and Matt, we're riding the elevator there, I believe at the National Mall, getting ready to go to the White House. I told guys, it's not going to matter. We're not going to be remembering how tired we were or how bad we smell right now. Remember that we're going to be covering this event at the White House. And to actually be on the White House grounds, to be in the media room, to where the press conferences are held, really cool to be at the podium. I believe that time that Sean Spicer had just left his post as the press secretary, and Sarah Huckabee Sanders had stepped in. So I might have that timeline a little wrong, but really cool to be in that little press room, be at press row, and then they escort you out to the South Lawn. You see the vehicles, the trophies. Truex had presented President Trump with a helmet from the year prior, and I believe Logano had done the same the year after. So really cool to see both of them. They didn't make the president available for media availabilities, but they did make Truex available, and they made Logano available. So really cool to be there and just to witness history and to think this is the leader of the free world, and they're recognizing NASCAR here on a weekday. Really, really cool special. It's something I will carry with me the rest of my life.
That's awesome. What a great experience that is, and we'll be cool to see Joey there recognized again at NASCAR on the world stage, right there among the free leader of the free world. There, it's going to be awesome. Looking ahead to this weekend at Bristol, how do the odds stack up, Dom?
We look at the odds. Tyler, we'll have you guess. Who do you think the opening odds-on favorite is?
I hate when you make me guess this every week.
Well, you're pretty good at guessing. That's why I keep putting you on the spot, though.
I'm going to go with Oof. I'll go with Kyle Larson around 400.
Here you select odds according to the Caesar Sportsbook for opening odds for the Food City 500. Kyle Larson is your odds-on favorite at plus 400. See, was that
Oh,
so painful?
spot on.
You're pretty good, Tyler, nailing these, by the way. But last week's winner, Denny Hamlin, who's trying to eye his first three in a row NASCAR Cup Series wins at plus 450 or 4.5 to 1. Christopher Bell plus 550. Ryan Blaney plus 700. Chase Elliott plus 850. William Byron, who's never won at Bristol, plus 1100. Chase Briscoe at plus 1800. Brad Keselowski, could he turn the season around at Bristol? He's sitting at plus 2,000. Kyle Busch and Ty Gibbs each at plus 2,500. Bubba Wallace, Joey Logano plus 3,000. Eric Jones, Austin Cindric plus 5,000. Alex Bowman plus 3,500. Maybe a value pick, maybe not there. You go down the list. Your longest shot, Cody Ware at 2,500 to 1 or plus 250,000.
David, let's start with you. Who catches your eye? Who do you think's going to have a good showing this weekend at Bristol?
Man, it's just a lot of guys have a lot of momentum. Ryan Blaney catches my eyes. You can't ever count on Kyle Larson. Denny Hamlin, Tyler Reddick. I mean, on and on and on. It's just a lot of these guys are just a lot of momentum. Bell. That's what makes it so exciting. It's like, man, we know who the odd favorite is. Kyle Larson, but man, it's just so many other teams and drivers that'll be fighting for that win as well. So it's gonna be exciting. But if I had to choose somebody, I think I might go with Denny Hamlin myself. He wants that three-peat bad. You know what I mean? To win 3 in a row, that'd be amazing for him.
Yeah, Dom, what David just brought up there, Denny going for 3 in a row. We saw his teammate Christopher Bell do it, and prior to Christopher Bell, nobody had done it in this next-gen car. How do you like Denny's chances this weekend of making it 3 in a row?
I got to be thinking you're really thinking you have a good shot if you're Denny Hamlin or the 11 team, and I would think so too because you've run well at Bristol. You're a multi-winner there at that racetrack. You're a consistently awesome short track racer. You've got natural momentum winning the last 2 races, no matter the circumstances. Winning fixes a lot of things. I'm Denny Hamlin. I'm thinking I have a really good chance to win on Sunday, and it's going to come down to a really good qualifying lap on Saturday to get a really good pit stall selection for the race. But the 11 team can very easily piece together a very good race weekend. It wouldn't shock me, Tyler, if we're talking next week on the show about a three-peat.
That'd be something if that occurs that way. Is he going to be your pick? Or are you going with Denny?
I am going with Denny Hamlin to go 3 in a row. That's my pick.
You called the 3 in a row with Christopher Bell last time. I'll go with the favorite. I'll go with Kyle Larson to get it done. I think that 5 car is going to be bad fast, and he's so good at these short tracks. I would be surprised if Kyle Larson isn't running up front and in contention to win this race on Sunday. I'll go with Kyle Larson. So there you have it. That's our picks for this week. Let's move on now and get to our mailbag segment where you guys can submit questions to us each and every week by email, davidstarpodcast@gmail.com. Also on Facebook at David Starr Podcast, X at Star Podcast. And we'd love to hear from you guys there. David, first question in the mailbag this week comes from Terrence. Terrence wants to know, David, are you planning on running any cup races this year?
Man, I'm not right now, but my good friend Carl Long calls me all the time to ask me, hey, what cup race am I going to run? So I don't have no plans right now, but that could change in the near future. So it'd be kind of cool to run another cup race or 2. And that is a possibility, but right now I don't have one on the schedule. My focus is on the Xfinity Series, but it's always cool and cool to run a cup race or 2. So that's probably possible before the end of the year.
Tell me this, David. The Xfinity program. What's going on there? I imagine it was good to get back in the Xfinity car last week. What's on the horizon on that front?
Well, just working with Joey Gase Motorsports. Joey's such a great friend of mine, good guy. and we're trying to finalize up maybe our 15, 20 race deal with Joey. Working on that. Hopefully, I'll have some news here really soon. But you'll see me more in the 53 car throughout the year, and I'll be driving for Joey this year. And unfortunately, Darlington was my first race. I was scheduled to race another race earlier this year, but man, my business, my racing school business, Team Texas Racing School, there based at the Texas Motor Speedway, kind of got in the way, and I had to postpone a race. But I'm looking forward to getting back and racing more this year than I did last year. I go about 4 or 5 races where I'm not racing. It really bothers the heck out of me. You know what I mean? So I'm looking forward to racing more, and I know I'll be racing at the Texas Motor Speedway, be my next race with Joey, and then past that, hopefully we'll have some news here real soon that we can share which races and how many races. So but I'm just excited to be able to race at Darlington. That was fun, exciting, and looking forward to running at my home track Texas Motor Speedway here in about 3 weeks.
Oh yeah, that's great to hear. I always love anytime David gets behind the wheel of a race car. And David, you mentioned the racing school. I got to bring that up real quick. Um, the racing school now, I believe this is what, year 3 for you since you took over the reins there at Team Texas, and we've seen the rebrand with Connectus involved, and obviously you got your public events, your corporate events. I think you were just promoting the school out in Vegas a couple of weeks ago. Give folks an update. What's going on with the racing school these days?
Man, it's just it's awesome. It's fun. The people side of it, to meet more race fans and that come and drive race cars, and to hear their perspective. For those that never driven a race car before, and they come to Texas Motor Speedway and they jump in a real NASCAR race car, it's really cool to hear and to see the emotions from people. They're so excited. A lot of them are cussing. A lot of them are like, "Man, I got to do that again." A lot of them have tears coming down their cheeks because it was a dream come true. And then the corporate side, Team Texas, we do lots of corporate events for companies that bring their best customers and reward their employees for being hard workers and longevity and working safe and stuff like that. It's just a great business. I'm blessed to be part of it and to own it. And it's very rewarding, and I love it, but it's labor intense, and to have a great partner like Connectus Wireless is amazing. Everybody's mobility need. Every company has mobility need, and what Connectus would do, their agents across the country that supply the Verizon business solutions for all these companies. It's really cool to have them as a partner. So it's fun. It's fun, exciting, and great. But just as fun and exciting as it is, it's a lot of work, and sometimes it takes me away from NASCAR racing, and that's the part that I don't like. But anyway, hopefully I'll be racing a lot more this year. But that's what's going on at Team Texas. Just a lot of work, a lot of having fun, and a lot of maintenance on race cars.
Yeah, that's good. I'm excited for you, and that's some great stuff going on. We still got to get Dominic out there to the school one of these days.
Well, man, I'd love to have you guys anytime. Dom and yourself are always welcome, and everybody's welcome. And man, anytime anybody's driving a race car, whether it's a Team Texas race car or some other racing school or somebody's racing somewhere, man, it don't get much better than that. You know what I mean? We just, you guys, y'all have the same passion I have. We just love racing, and whether you're driving a race car or not, or part of the sport, but it's just incredible. It's we're very blessed we get to do what we do.
Absolutely, no question about it. Next question in the inbox. This one comes from Kayla. Kayla wants to know, guys, what do you think of the multitude of lawsuits going on right now, from Dale Jr. and Lamar Jackson to Legacy Motor Club? Let's start with you, Dom. there's a lot of legal battles going on, and that's not even the 2311 and front row situation that obviously was the big one in all this. I mean, some of them like I think the Lamar Jackson thing's a little silly over the number eight car, the number eight, but others are just out there.
Yeah, the Lamar Jackson one I think puzzles me a little bit. I don't think it's necessarily an all right out lawsuit, but it was more a trademark dispute. And it wasn't even over the old stylized eight that his return to that JR Motorsports car. It was more that weird stylized one that was used from 2019 to last year. But nonetheless, it's not even being used anymore. So to me, it's a non-issue. And I feel like, my opinion only, I feel like there's no case here. There's no reason for it in the first place. But that's just my opinion. The Legacy Motor Club, Rick Ware Racing deal is going to be very interesting to follow. We had Brock Beard on here last week. He did study law, so I was very fascinated to hear a lot of his expertise on that. And if you're interested to go back and listen on that, we have that on our YouTube page and on Spotify and on Apple. But crazy, crazy things. Perhaps the biggest wins, Tyler, are going to be not on the racetrack, but in the courtroom this year.
Yeah. That I can't recall, David, of so many outside legal counsel issues going on in the NASCAR world that are just so all over the place right now. Like, who would have thought we'd have Lamar Jackson, the Ravens quarterback, suing Dale Jr. over the number eight rights use? And then now we got this legacy deal, and we got this 2311 and front row situation over the charters. David, I mean, there is so much going on. But even with that said, it's not taken away from the racing we're still seeing during the week. Even with all these side distractions, if you want to call them that, I still think we're seeing great racing week in, week out.
Man, Tyler, I was just going to say, I can't really respond to what y'all are talking about. I just don't know enough about any of it. I'm so busy, I haven't really kept up with the different lawsuits. I've heard a little bit about it. But and I think you're spot on, Tyler. The racing on the racetrack, the performance and these races, how great they are. The drama that brings with great racing. I just think NASCAR is alive and well and thriving. You know what I mean? Anytime you have lawsuits, going at different direction and different racing teams. You hate to see that kind of stuff. Sometimes it plays out publicly, but it's just and truthfully, man, I can't remember the last time we had so many lawsuits going on. It's kind of sad to be honest with you, but again, I don't know. I'm not educated on the lawsuits, know that much about them to be able to talk about them. You know what I mean? But I can just assure you that, and we all know that it has affected the end product, and the racing is amazing.
Yeah. Dom, to add to David's point there, like, I don't see this being a distraction. Any of these things that are going on, like, I think there was some questions in the 2311 case. Was NASCAR going to be harder on them, make life more difficult or something? But so far, everyone is I know that there's a lot of messy stuff going on, but I'll give credit where credit's due, whether it's the teams or NASCAR. I know the Lamar Jackson situation's a little different than these others, but it seems anyway that people are putting their differences aside when the racing is actually going on the racetrack itself.
Certainly so. And I think too, even back to last year, I don't know if either of you remember these comments, but the lawsuit drops and everything's going on. It's in the midst of the NASCAR playoffs. And I remember Denny Hamlin gets pressed, I think, at Las Vegas. And Steve Phelps gets pressed, I think, at some point. Maybe more so the Hamlin thing about, well, what if we're in a situation where Phelps is handing you the NASCAR trophy? And I think Hamlin kind of just playfully said, well, that'd be a great problem to have because maybe I'm the driver getting the trophy or I'm the team owner with Tyler Reddick getting the trophy. So you're right. All the differences have been put aside. You wouldn't know as somebody who, if you were not following the sport on a week to week basis, because the broadcasts really don't bring these things up anyway, you really wouldn't know what's going on in the first place.
Yeah, I think that's a great point. Guys, we got a few more minutes left before we wrap up here. David, it's been a while since we've gotten the chance to catch up with you. I'm sure people are curious. Just tell us everything that's going on in your world, over the last few weeks. I know you're keeping busy with so much and still trying to, watch all the races when you can and everything too. Give us a glimpse inside the world of David Starr here for a minute here, David.
Man, it's just a lot going on. I was in Vegas with the channel partner mobile show there, convention going on with Connectus Wireless, and we took the Connectus race car and a racing simulator, did autograph sessions, spoke to a lot of Connectus's, a lot of their vendors and customers. Getting ready for that takes time. We've been busy at Team Texas. We've had some schools, some corporate events. And the biggest thing that kind of keeps me somewhat busy are my kids. Both my boys, DJ Starr and Vance Starr, they race. DJ races a limited modified at Kennedale Speedway, and Vance races this little, I guess you can call it like a quarter midget at Cam Raceway down the road from the Texas Motor Speedway. And Friday night I'll be going racing with my youngest boy Vance, and then we'll be racing Friday and Saturday night, and then Saturday night his big brother DJ will be racing his modified at Kennedale, and so it's hard to be all these different places at once, but it's exciting and a lot of fun. And Mrs. Kim, my wife, she's busy running the business, meeting with companies, and putting together a lot of these events. It takes a lot of her time, but man, we're just having a great time running Team Texas and racing a lot, and and that's about it, man. It's I'm sad that I hadn't been on the podcast in a while, but man, we've just been busy with different projects, with different race cars and new companies coming in, getting wraps on our cars, and trying to meet deadlines and try to keep our cars maintenance up for events. And it's been a lot of fun, and as busy as we are, we really enjoy all of it as well, but the biggest thing, guys, and you'll know this, and I think Dominic is experienced now, watching your kids race and do what I'm so passionate about. It's really cool to watch them enjoy it and watch them get better as young kids racing, not only them, but the people they race against. It's cool to see all these young kids that are getting involved in dirt track racing. And, man, it's just a lot of fun. I've had a good time watching all this stuff.
David, they got me thinking, there was a clip that went viral a couple of weeks ago of Kyle Busch coaching up his son Brexton, where Brexton was complaining about the car. And Kyle says to him, Brexton, you got the best car money can buy. It's not always the car. Sometimes it comes down to the driver and the mistakes they make. Do you find yourself having maybe those type of moments with your kids where, maybe they're complaining about the car or something not going right, and you're just saying, son, this is on you. You got to do this different. Or are they coachable? Are they listening to you?
Well, it's interesting. My kids, I support them and bought them a race car, but man, they're doing the setup. They're picking the gear ratio and the stagger, and if they're going to get in this racing business, they got to understand how a race car works. How do you get what makes the car get into the corner? What makes it rotate in the center? What does it drive up off the corners? So they got to understand all aspects of it, mechanically, the engines, the gearing, the transmissions, the master cylinders and clutches. And, so I really watch my kids, from the sidelines, and I let them learn. And when they come to me and ask me for advice, I give it to them. But it's been fun to watch them set their cars up, to watch them learn and ask questions. And I see them trying things that I know that it's probably not going to work, but they got to get out there and try it so they can know, and it's been a lot of fun. But we hadn't got to the point where, my kids, they don't have the best equipment. I'm not out there buying them the best race cars money can buy. It's out there just getting them a race car and letting them rebuild it, make it better, make changes to it, and let them earn that. I think, and DJ's as a driver and Vance as a driver, man, it's been impressive watching them race, and hopefully they'll continue on that path, and it's just been a lot of fun. But it's fun just talking racing, talking chassis with them, and hadn't got to that point or that kind of conversation with my kids that Kyle Busch is having with Braxton. I'm sure it's coming down the road, where I'll be challenged and maybe we'll have to deliver, but it's been a lot of fun, and it's cool to see not only Kyle Busch and Kyle Larson, but all the other drivers that I have raced in NASCAR against, and seeing what their kids are doing now. Travis, you look at Travis Quaffle, who I raced with for many years in the NASCAR Camp World Truck Series. Now you look at his son, one's driving for Dale Jr. in the Xfinity Series, and it's kind of cool to see that. It's funny, I saw Travis last year at a race. He said, man, Starr, something's wrong with this. You're out there racing with my kid, and we used to race together, beat and bang all the time. But it's just it's fun to see the kids, the young kids that are coming up through the sport now, how good they are. And it's been kind of cool to be able to race against their dad, now racing against their sons, you know what I mean? So the whole process is really it's a blessing to me, and it's pretty awesome to be part of.
I love it. Let's go around the room real quick before we get out of here. What's everybody got going on this week? Dom, start with you.
Yeah, it's going to be a nice little fun weekend at home, and just kind of spend the next few days enjoying that and spending some nice family time, being a husband and a dad. You're right, David. It's really cool to see my 2.5-year-old son kind of taking on the passions I like, whether that be motorsports or music. As you all know, I'm a big music guy, and we have an electric drum set. We have a little keyboard, and he enjoys playing that even more than me. I started at 10, and he's got a 9-year head start on me starting at 1 year old, and he loves that stuff. So I'm sure we're going to be spending a lot of time in the home office on that drum set and keyboard this weekend.
That's awesome. What are you doing, Tyler? What's going on this weekend? And where you been last couple of days, man?
I just got back from San Antonio. I was at the Final Four this past week, and I had a great time. But I'll be honest, I was ready to come home. 5 days in San Antonio was plenty. So I will be recouping and relaxing at home in Dallas this weekend, and just enjoyed myself. And then I'll be back on the road in about 3 weeks or so out in Los Angeles. So got the NFL draft we're preparing for and everything here too on my end. So plenty going on, even Homestead here on that front. David, not racing this weekend, but I'm sure you're with the boys this weekend, right?
No doubt about it. We'll be busy racing at these dirt tracks, and I'll be keeping up with the NASCAR races from Bristol. And man, it's just going to try to catch up a little R&R. That's kind of sometimes a challenge for me to do, you know what I mean? But it's going to be a fun, beautiful weekend here in Dallas, Texas, and I'm excited about my kids racing this weekend, and looking forward to all the NASCAR races at Bristol. So it's going to be a great weekend of racing for myself.
Can't wait. That'll be awesome. Guys, a lot of fun. Great to have the gang back together. Can't wait to do it all again next week. We'll put the checkered flag out on this edition of Let's Go Racing. As always, subscribe to the show. New episodes out each and every week. Apple, Spotify, Google Podcasts, wherever you listen to podcasts. Hit us up on YouTube as well. Hit the like button. We certainly would appreciate it. Leave us a 5-star review, or don't leave us one at all. And then also hit us up on social media. At Star Podcast on X, Facebook, email David Starr Podcast at gmail.com. You can find us there. And check out this show as well as the rest of the Studio Soapbox Network, the Jones Report, Coach Bodo's podcast, and all podcast platforms. For David Starr, Dominic Aragon, I'm Tyler Jones. We'll put the checkered flag out on this edition of Let's Go Racing with David Starr. Have a great week, everybody. We'll see you next week. Enjoy the action from Bristol, and we'll see you on the other side.